It's time once again for another edition of the House Whisperer Show on WWDB Talk 860. I'm Barry Reisman, inviting you to stay tuned for expert advice about maintaining your house from the roof to the basement from the guy who knows all about it and tells us that every house has a story, and we've heard plenty of stories. Professional home inspector Jack Milne, and not only do we have Jack on the air with us today, but Jack has a special guest, and we'll let you tell us about that. But first, let's say good morning, Jack Milne. How are you today?
Well, good morning, Barry. Here it is Sunday all over again. It seems like the weeks are flying by, and if you notice, it's getting darker a little bit more
sure is
every night. So before you know it, it's going to be daylight savings time, and it's time for hibernation.
Right, that's right.
But, it makes you start to look forward to December 22nd when the days start to get longer all over again. But you're right, Barry. I got someone special today that we're going to talk to. His name's Bill Kibbel. And I've known Bill since, I guess, the early 1980s, and I actually brought him on to Tri-County around 1985 or 86, I believe. And he is my senior inspector. And we're going to talk about old structures and particularly their roof systems. Because one thing about living in the tri-state area, and what I enjoy most, is that we get to inspect properties that were built in the late 1600s, early 1700s, until really yesterday. And when Bill came on, he always had this fascination for old structures, and he really became a true expert at it. So before we kick in with Bill, I'd like to thank my sponsors, because without them, I wouldn't be on the air today. So let's start with Bucksmont Inspections. These folks are truly the best in the business when it comes to designing, repairing, and inspecting on-site sewage systems. And I've also taken it a little bit further that if you have a macerator in your home, which is a human waste grinder for a basement bathroom, please put a pump alarm on it. Reach out to these folks at 215-669-4213. Burrow Exterminating out of Glen Olden, Pennsylvania. Once again, this is a second to a third generation company. They've been at it for a long time, and they do both termite and radon testing. So if you need their assistance, 610-586-5640. Pest Blaster out of Hamilton, New Jersey. We work with them a lot doing radon, mold, wood-destroying insect, and pest removal. In fact, this last week I had Pest Blaster out of my house because there was a bat hanging out, under my flag by my front door. And so my wife said, "What's this stuff on the concrete pad?" And took a look under the flag, and lo and behold, there was a little bat hanging out, literally.
Wow.
So even at the home inspector's house, Barry, they can show up. So, and brainfleshgear.com, eclectic clothing wear. Anything you need for yourselves, a group, or a party, why don't you reach out to brainfleshgear.com. Their email is contact@brainfleshgear.com. And finally, Tri-County Inspection Company. Once again, started the company in 1985. We're rounding our 30th year, and truly the best in the business. So we actually serve 15 counties from the Lehigh Valley, where Bill is from, all the way down to South Jersey. So let me give you the website, which is tcinspect.com, and I'd say the two primary lines are 215-295-2030 and 610-346-7880. So as you're all aware, typically when I have a guest on the line, I forgo the email box, but I can tell you next week we actually had a great email from Donna talking about how to prepare for an addition. So we're going to talk about that next week. So, again, a little bit about Bill. He's been with Tri-County Inspection since, let's count the years, actually 28 years. He's inspected over 10,000 buildings, roughly between the age of 100 to 350 years old. He has been an active consultant for public historic sites, churches, as well as preservation groups. And I've seen Bill talk quite a number of times at conferences, and also has had about 50 articles published relating to historic building methods and materials. So, Bill, welcome to the House Whisperer.
By the way, I just want to jump in here to say that I believe his full name is Bill Kibbel, right? We'll get his last name in there, too.
Yes, it is. And Barry, I've been calling him Bill forever. So yes, let's include that last name.
All right.
So, Bill, welcome aboard.
Thanks for having me on today.
Yeah, I appreciate it as much. Again, our topic today, Bill, is typical roofs on old buildings. So let's kick right in. What do you think is the most popular, common type of roofing found on older buildings?
Well, slate roofs by far are the most common type of roofs over historic buildings. Unfortunately, every year I'm finding more and more of them disappearing. Some type of slates are in our area are starting to reach the end of their service life. Other slate roofs that may have many more decades, maybe even centuries more, are not being maintained properly and are getting replaced because people aren't aware of how to maintain a slate roof to obtain the maximum life out of them.
Well, why don't you explain the difference between like a Vermont or a West Virginian slate and a Pennsylvania slate?
Well, there's really two types of slates when evaluating a slate roof, and simply put, there's hard slate and there's soft slate. Hard slates you'll see in the highly colored slates that you see coming out of the quarries in Vermont and New York. That's the light green, the purple, the mottled purple, and then the red slates out of the New York quarries. There's also hard slates out of Virginia and Maine. Pennsylvania is by far the leader in the production of slate throughout the popularity of slate roofing systems. But very few hard slates were from Pennsylvania. There was a quarry up in the Lehigh Valley called Chapman Quarries. They produced a very hard slate. You'd certainly recognize if you see it. You'll see diagonal lines across the slate. They're very popular because of their color. But they also last a long time because they're a hard slate. There's also a quarry in York County, right on the border with Maryland. Actually, the slate deposit extended from Pennsylvania into Maryland. And the area was called Peach Bottom, and that is really the hardest slate you'll ever see anywhere. It's really was considered the best slate in the world. And when I say hard slate versus soft slate, hard slates are not very permeable to water, where soft slates, which mostly came out of the Lehigh Valley area quarries, absorb more water. They also tend to have a lot more chemicals and minerals mixed in with the slate deposits. And once brought up out of the ground and put up on a roof, the chemicals and the minerals start to decompose, lightening the slate, changing the color, and eventually causing the slates to flake off. Some of the real soft Pennsylvania slates we're seeing that have a life expectancy of maybe 85 to 115 years, where many other of the hard slates, you can get actual centuries out of the roof system with proper maintenance.
And I think that's a common misnomer. Well, it's a slate roof. It's going to last forever.
Well, some that may be true on the real hard slates, but the soft slates are really the most common slates, especially in our area. The slate quarries where the soft slates came from, they just produced much more slate than any other slate-producing region in the country. So, soft slate is the most common type you're going to see on buildings around this area. And again, a lot of those are starting to reach the end of their useful life.
So what do you find is the most common repair that slate roofs require?
Well, pretty much every year, or at least every 2 years, you're going to have a handful of cracked, broken, loose, or missing slates that need replacement. It's a long life roof, but it does require some regular maintenance. So really, it's important to replace those damaged, broken, or missing slates every year. If you walk around the yard cleaning up in the spring and you see pieces of slate, then you know something's going on the roof that needs some attention.
Is it typically the fasteners, or
No, it's not. It's not the fasteners. It's usually the slate itself that has cracked or broken and fallen off. A lot of slates in our area have what's called ribbons in it. That's not the striations I was talking about from the Chapman slates. But the softer slates, some have ribbons in them, which is just a single or a double band across the slate that was from the sediments that were in the ground that formed the slate. And that tends to break down, flake, and be a weak point in the slates, and they can break off at those points. A lot of roofing contractors back in the day would install that part of the slate up under the slate above so it wouldn't be noticeable, but then it still ends up decaying and breaking off. Another problem is having folks up on the roof that really don't understand slates, not really trained properly to work on slates, can often do much more damage to a slate roof. For example, a fairly recently installed slate roof, I found probably 40 to 50 slates that were broken, and the roof system was only 9 years old. What happened was the installer just walked all over the roof, creating fine cracks in the slates that didn't appear until years later, and then there was, major repairs already in 8 years.
Yeah, I think, slate is so old world that, the current generation that's, who are roofing and siding contractors have no clue what to do with slate.
We have a little commercial break to take. Looking forward to coming back right after this and talk more about that thing on top of your house that we call a roof.
Boro Exterminating has been specializing in wood-destroying insect inspection and control for over 40 years, serving Philadelphia and the surrounding counties. All inspectors are state certified and ensure providing their clients with professional inspections and treatments. Boro not only performs conventional termite treatments, but also handles special services like historic buildings and homes with wells, creeks, or ponds. The client is assured that all treatments will be performed safely when you hire Boro to do the work. They also provide radon testing in their service area. Boro's full-time office staff is available to help you schedule an appointment. Just call 610-586-5640 or send an email request to boroinspects@verizon.net. That's 610-586-5640 or email at boroinspects@verizon.net.
Specially created t-shirts by BrainFlushGear.com offer the extreme sports enthusiast an opportunity to have a clothing line available that suits their sport. BrainFlushGear.com understands that when we get the moment where we can jump on our motorcycles, wave runners, surfboards, snowmobiles, or skateboards, it can be priceless. They offer custom artwork including silk screening, transfers, and embroidery. Speak to one of their consultants today and they'll help you create your own Brain Flush. Visit BrainFlushGear.com or email them at contact@BrainFlushGear.com.
For your septic inspection and testing needs, please consider Bucksmont Inspections. They've been serving the Bucks and Montgomery County areas for over 15 years. As members of the Pennsylvania Septic Management Association, the Pennsylvania Association of Sewage Enforcement Officers, and the Pennsylvania Association for Professional Soil Scientists, Bucksmont Inspections can inspect your existing septic system or test for your new septic system placement. Please call Rob Bowie at 215-669-4213 and say you heard their ad on the House Whisperers Show.
As the weather gets cooler and the temperatures drop, the bugs might slow down, but the rodents don't stop. Mice and rats begin to invade homes during the fall and winter months, looking for food, warmth, and a comfortable place to nest. Don't wait for pesky rodents to invade your home. Fight back. Have your home baited and ready for their attack with Pest Blaster. Whether preventative or a full-blown infestation, give Pest Blaster a call at 215-295-5555 and they can discuss the solution to your problem. They also offer humane animal removal services for a wide variety of wild animals, damage repairs, and cleanups. Call them today at 215-295-5555 or check them out at pestblaster.com, servicing both New Jersey and Pennsylvania. Pest Blaster, 215-295-5555 or pestblaster.com for all your pest control needs.
Tri-County Inspection Company has been providing professional home inspections, commercial inspections, and historic property evaluations for over 25 years. Tri-County Inspection Company covers 13 counties, serving both New Jersey and Pennsylvania. They've performed inspections for over 70,000 clients and are members of the American Society of Home Inspectors, as well as the Pennsylvania Home Inspectors Coalition. They are licensed in both Philadelphia and New Jersey. For all of your real estate transactions, call Tri-County Inspections at 215-295-2030. For their New Jersey clientele, call 856-853-4224. In PA, call 215-295-2030. In New Jersey, 856-853-4224.
We continue now with more of the House Whisperer Show at WWDB with Jack Milne and Jack's special guest, Bill Kibbel, and fascinating conversation about roofs. And guys, you're back on the air.
Well, thank you, Barry. Again, I've got Bill Kibbel on the line. He's my senior inspector here at Tri-County Inspection Company, who really inspects anything that we need, but his forte is really historical structures, and he does dabble a lot in commercial, by the way. But today we're talking typical roofs on old buildings. So before we bounce off slate, literally, how can a consumer find a good slate roofing contractor?
Well, fortunately, we have the internet now, and there's also an organization for them called the Slate Roofing Contractors Association. You can go to their website, you can pick your state and find contractors that really specialize in slate roofing systems. Some of them will travel quite a distance, out of state even, for large jobs, but you'd want to probably find something a little more local just to do the normal maintenance and repairs to the roof.
And typically when I inspect a slate roof, I tell clients to budget anywhere maybe between $700 to $1,000 a year for small repairs.
That's a fair price. When I inspect slate roofs, unfortunately, what I find is many slate roofs have not been maintained properly, or they've been hiring contractors to do the repair work and the maintenance work that aren't familiar with the proper methods. For example, they show up with a big old bucket of tar and a trowel and smear it all over, chasing leaks, trying to maintain a slate roof improperly, which makes a whole lot more work for a slate roofing contractor that does it the right way. So the initial cost to get the slate roof system caught up sometimes can be up between $5,000 and $10,000. But then after that, yes, normal maintenance, that would be a good figure to budget.
Okay. Now, moving on, what's the next common type of roof that you see on older buildings?
I would say it's metal roof systems. Sometimes the entire roof is a metal roof systems, but most of the time the metal roofs are limited to lower additions and porches.
And there's really two basic styles or common styles. Let's call it that. That's your soldered tin and then your standing seam.
That's correct, and we see it mostly, we call it tin, but it's actually what's called turn-plated steel, which is a lead tin alloy that's coating the steel for some corrosion protection. Even with that, though, it still needs to be painted. Soldered seam, they literally would get up on the roof with a torch and a soldering iron and solder the seams together. Standing seams were done with hammers and blocks, and then these big, huge tongs to crimp the seams over. Just like slate roofs, a lot of the metal roofs are just disappearing because they haven't been maintained properly. Really need to keep them protected from corrosion. And in the past, that was all done by just wire brushing it and painting it with a good oil-based paint. Most common paint was the red paint, which is actually, the pigment is iron oxide, and that iron oxide is rust, and that actually helps the roof from rusting. It's also a common primer on many types of metals. Unfortunately, a lot of roofs have had a lot of patching, non-professional patching, coating systems that aren't compatible with the metal. Recently, there's a coating system now that's been developed that's really excellent for preserving these old historic metal roof systems. It's an elastomeric coating that brushes right onto the roof like a thick coat of paint. If there's rusted areas, patched areas, they can be reinforced with a polyester fabric embedded in the coating. Then a second coating goes on, and the coating can be pigmented to match the traditional oil-based paint color, so it still has the historic character. It looks like a painted metal roof, but it's actually a seamless membrane when it cures, covering the whole roof system.
Now, is this coating system, is it available at your hardware stores or home centers, or you have to go to specialty stores?
No, most of the stuff you can get locally. You're probably better off just putting on your camper. This is a specialty coating system specifically preserving historic metal roofs. The company that has the product locally has had a lot of experience with it. I think the name of the company is Preservation Products. You can find them online, I'm sure, and you can buy it by the gallon, 5 gallon. I've used it myself on a historic metal roof and was real pleased with it.
I think what's really neat now is that this standing seam roof line is coming back now in aluminum, and you're starting to see pediments and pent roofs and certain designs are now using the standing seam in aluminum, so you don't have the maintenance.
Yeah, but I have concern with the look of it, though. I mean, it's great that it's making a comeback, but the factory finish on it's a real shiny, consistent finish. It just doesn't look right on historic buildings. It looks great on contemporary buildings. Like I just saw one on a big, huge vacation lodge built out of logs and has standing seam metal roof on it. Looked great. Also, that darn coating system, man, that's slippery when you try walking on it.
Yeah, that's true too.
It's like when we were kids trying to walk up the slides in the playground.
Yep. I've been through that before. How about tile roofs? What's your thoughts?
They're starting to really disappear. Just these tile roofs, just like slate roofs, hasn't been maintained properly. It's difficult to find anybody to work on them. A lot of your tile roof systems that are being installed today, first, they're very expensive. Second, you really have to have a waterproof roofing membrane installed before you put the tile on, just because they're not familiar with the installation of it. So, there's been a lot of damage over time, a lot of improper repairs, a lot of patchwork. So when it comes time to do more work, oftentimes they're sold a new roof system rather than trying to preserve the original tile roof. Another problem with tile roofs, especially with the real thin ceramic tiles, is hailstorms. They've been taking out roofs left and right when hailstorms come through of any significance.
Are they really made for this area? I think in Florida, with tile roofs. But, can they handle the weather up here in the Northeast?
Well, they can to some degree. It really depends on the thickness. In our area, I think it was out of Trenton, New Jersey, another one out of Berks County near Reading. They made concrete tiles that were really thick and durable. Mm-hmm. They have a lot of wear to it. If they had any color to begin with, it's pretty faded. So those were pretty durable. I still come across those from time to time, but finding exact replacements when individual tiles need repair is very difficult. Another one that was real popular here because we had big manufacturers of asbestos-containing products is the cement asbestos roofing tiles. Originally, they were brightly colored. Most of them were red or green. Now they've all faded to kind of a really dull, dirty gray, but those roofs are extremely fragile. And again, trying to get someone to do any work on it is very difficult to find replacements that match. And many roofing contractors just absolutely refuse to work on them because they've got that A word attached to them.
Exactly. Well, I think we have a couple more minutes, but let's talk real quick about wood shingles and shakes.
There's another roof system that I don't see as much of as I used to. The problem with wood shingles and shakes is they just don't have the long service life that they used to. Give you an example. I salvaged cypress shingles from the building that had a roof torn off. I cut about 1 inch off the ends of it and put it on a reproduction building, and that was probably about 15 years ago. So the old type of wood that was used for wood shingles is really terrific. Today's wood, I really think a lot of it's not the heartwood of the logs, where the old roofing was split right out of the old rings, the old inner core of the logs. A lot of this stuff is from newer trees. It's mostly sapwood, and it's just not lasting very long at all. Combine that with, the fact that they put them directly on felt paper, put felt paper in between the courses, install them directly on solid decking. They don't dry out. They just constantly stay wet. The old method of doing it was installing them on spaced wood battens, and that way the underside can dry out as quick as the top side, and you can get a nice long life out of them.
I did a high-end home in New Hope about 2 weeks ago, and the seller's disclosure form said they have a 50-year cedar shake roof. And so they must have, according to the warranty, which, by the way, was non-transferable, this house is now about 17 years old with a ton of cup shingles on the sunny side. So they must have dipped it in something that says they can get 50 years. But again, Bill, it was found on felt, and it was on oriented strand board sheathing.
Well, I've got to cut in here, gentlemen. We don't have 50 years. We have about 50 seconds left, so we've got to get out of here.
Yeah, I do really want to thank Bill for joining me today. And if you have any questions regarding older buildings and their roof systems or whatever systems, reach out to Bill at 215-295-2030 or 610-346-7880. Next week, we're going to visit the email box. Don has sent me a good one on demolition versus construction, how to be ready when the walls come down. So until next week, as it is Sunday, please spend time with friends and family, and we'll see you next week on the House Whisperer Show.
And you can listen to previous programs, or if you have any questions, visit thehousewhisperershow.com. I'm Barry Reisman. Thanks for listening.
Now everything